Okay, that'll work.
Right.
Good evening, good evening. At this time, I call this High Springs City Commissioner meeting to order. It's August the 28th, 2014 at 6:30. Please rise for the invocation, and for the invocation, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance. Deacon Custer.
Heavenly Father, once again, we thank you for the freedom we have to gather together here in public to share our concerns and opinions for the betterment of our community and its citizens. We pray for peace in our neighborhoods and in the world. Help us to put aside all pride, ego, and selfishness in our deliberations for your greater glory and honor. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, roll call.
Mayor Williams.
Present.
Vice Mayor Weller.
Present.
Commissioner Barnes.
Present.
Commissioner Gestrin.
Present.
Commissioner Jameson.
Here.
Okay, at this time, the approvals of the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda as written.
Second.
There is one item I need to pull, and that has to do with the tax abatement of Plantation Oaks. The request is to wait till the 11th of September.
Ed, Dean Davis called me today, just before the meeting, and said he asked for that,
Yes.
but I suggested that we leave it on the agenda to find out if there is consensus to even go with it. Because if there isn't, then we can move it to the 11th if there is, but if there isn't, then no point in taking it any farther.
Okay. Did I get a motion in a second? Okay. All in favor, come by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Okay, motion carries. All right. Approval of the minutes for June the 12th, 2014 City Commissioner meeting.
I'll make a motion we approve the minutes from June 12th.
I'll second that motion.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussions, questions? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, come by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. All right. Moving on for a presentation from the activities of the rec department.
How's it going?
Fine.
Basically, I was just bringing a report of basically what this fall season is going to consist of, as well as plans to grow in the future. Currently, right now, we have fall soccer is starting, fall volleyball, flag football, middle school tackle football, and fall ball for baseball and softball. I have some dates if you guys wanted to write them down. Fall soccer, as you know, is part of the Act 4 League. We play with other cities, but we host on October 18th and November 8th. Basically, we'll have games starting at like 8 in the morning, and it'll run usually till 2:30 at the sports complex fields just north of the cemetery. Fall volleyball, we just introduced a new 7 to 12-year-old boys league. This is an inaugural test, like a beta test to encourage some participation from the male side of volleyball. It's bigger down south. It hasn't grown as much as it is up here yet, so we plan to try it for that. But we also have females original. Games are on Tuesdays and Thursdays, usually at the High Springs Community School. We use their gym. And that season will run from October to November. Most seasons will run from October to November, except soccer because it's bigger. That'll be September to November. Excuse me. We're also hoping to start a flag football league this semester around because a lot of the kids may not be old enough to play tackle yet. It will act as like a pipeline for our middle school tackle football, which will then act as a pipeline to our high school football. So I've actually got some interest in that. We're going to have a team. We're going to play against Alachua and Newberry and maybe Waldo this year as well. And as you know, middle school tackle football is going on currently. They actually have a surprise scrimmage tonight that I just had to set up out at the sports complex. They're scrimmaging Mabane tonight. They've been practicing since July, and I'm actually very proud of the program. They managed to raise enough funds to suit an entire team in a month, which I was proud of, and that's a great service for us to where we don't have to really put as much effort in to provide a tackle football service for our community. And then moving on into the winter, we have our youth basketball. And currently, right now, we're working on an adult softball. Usually we had a league within the city, but the interest just hasn't been as high. So we've had like a minimal number of teams. So the goal is to maybe do like what we do with our youth, maybe have a few High Springs teams and maybe play some Newberry and some Gainesville to increase participation and more of retention as well from previous seasons. And then some goals maybe this year or next year, maybe to host a 5K. With the growing trend in like the fit industry, we would like to have an event there. It's something for the community, like, you know, to show off the beauty of the community as well as our facilities or parks. And that's a good way to get, you know, a nice event in and maybe possibly generate a good amount of revenue for the city. And also, there's a goal to host a state adult flag football tournament in the near future and possibly hosting regional softball tournaments for the younger divisions. Those are some goals that are currently in the works right now, but just an idea going forward to know that we plan to expand not only internally but externally as well in the tourism department. And that, I believe, is all I have, unless you guys have any questions for me.
I have one comment. Robert is investigating what it's going to take to reinstitute bingo for the seniors.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, in a budgetary move, the elder care withdrew their support of recreational activities after their meal, and so he's going to see what it takes to reinstitute it.
So,
Vice Mayor Waller.
so there's a certain amount of money that the elder care was providing for them to be able to have bingo gifts, or we just don't know yet?
We don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The age on the adult flag football, what would the age be?
Flag football is ages 5 to 8.
No, for the adults. You said
Oh,
something
the
about-
adult. Oh, excuse me. Adults is just anybody over 17, I believe.
Mhm.
Usually, what it is I know some that participate in it. It's just teams from around the world. They have to play in so many state tournaments to play in a national tournament. And I have a connection with the guy who is in charge of the state tournaments. So basically, they would just have a tournament. Some teams would come from all over the state, play, and then that can advance them to a bigger tournament. So, but yeah, usually it's anybody over 17, but they usually don't worry about the age because they'll have their own governing body and rules.
Yeah, you get to an age where we want you to have a medical certificate. Me and I
I'm still a young man, so.
Yeah, usually it's very competitive, and a lot of the athletes are 17 to 30 age range, but there are some elders that are pretty good.
Yeah. And the reason I asked that question, that's very good because it will give I want to say people my age and maybe older to get a chance to get some exercise, and especially with the also with the adult softball league, because I remember years ago adult softball was a very big thing here in High Springs, and I really would like for us to get that back here in High Springs. Give us some activity and opportunity for people to get out the house and then turn the television off for a few minutes.
Definitely. Just want to provide a service for all ages, especially with the baby boomers like growing up now, reaching that age. We're working on more of adult and also senior recreation is what I'm currently studying, looking into right now.
Yeah, see, when you say baby boom, I think it's about everybody in the room here, just about.
Do we
Speak
have
for
any,
yourself.
do we have any affiliation with the BMX other than the tracks on our property? You don't do anything with them?
No, sir. No.
Okay.
Any other questions? Anyone from the audience? So don't hesitate to sign up for flag football and
We're just
Except
gonna
for
have to
watch,
okay?
or bingo.
Yeah,
okay, thank you so much for the job that you're doing, y'all.
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to the budget, discuss the health insurance with John White. Are they in the house? Okay, let's see if that's him. If not,
Yeah.
we can go on to
You wanna-
the budget and then
we can go on to the budget and then come back.
I'll make a motion to move item 1 to after item 3 for now.
To after.
Move it down below items. Make it the last item under the budget.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to move item 1 to item 3. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor, can by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay, motion carries. All right, Mr. Booth. the
Yes,
budget.
sir. You have the new, and I know we keep revising it. The major issues in this particular budget is the health insurance, and I'll talk about that and then when the agent comes. We originally had proposed, and do they have the spreadsheet? They don't. Oh, there you go. Okay. As soon as I finish talking on the budget, I'll have you come up. The $440 that we were looking at budgeting really didn't buy us nearly what $500 buys us. And the issue is that we are reducing the insurance from the police department down. 440 didn't, but 500 seems to really give us a good health insurance. How to pay for it is that there are at least 7 members in this city, including myself, that don't take your insurance. The additional cost of going to the 52 program, which is $499, is $40,000. We budgeted for everyone to take it, but the people that don't take the insurance, that's a savings in the city of $35,000 that really almost pays for it, except for a small amount. And we'll talk about the agreements with the unions, but I will have to do that in the executive session. So it's my recommendation, we go to Plan 42, which is $499. And it's really, the cost of it is going to be offset by the individuals who don't take insurance.
It's Plan 42 or 52?
42.
And I think that that amount has been lowered just a little bit. It's not $499 anymore, it's $484.
484, okay. 484, I'm sorry, I stand corrected. Anyway, and we can well afford that in our budget. The other issue is the increase in salary. And the recommendation now is a straight across the board, 4% cost of living. No a merit increase. We can also afford that. You're about to get the bids on the liability insurance. And there's a savings there, and I'm not going to go into that because there are individuals here to talk about it, and it's up to the commission to vote on it, but I will give you a recommendation. So those are the major issues. We're well within budget. We still can go forward and go the rollback if you want. There is contingency in here, and as you know from the auditors, we have 6 months' worth of reserve. So truthfully, we're doing pretty good. Can't say anything more than that. So we've come a long ways in 2 years.
Vice Mayor Willer?
Yes, Mr. Manager, the information you just gave us, the amount of money on the health insurance and what you were just talking about, the across-the-board increase.
Yes.
Is that an adjustment that, if that was to be voted on and agreed to, is that an adjustment that would have to be made to the budget we currently have? Or is that in there?
It's in there.
It's in there. This budget that you presented to us has that health insurance change and that across-the-board change.
It does.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Barnes?
I had, in my old book that I turned in, I had some notes on some of the pages, but I think I just got the whole previous budget, but not the notes.
In the back, you have the old one.
Okay, but was that the one that was in my book, or is that just the print?
Yes.
Okay.
So we gave you the old one and the new one. There shouldn't be a huge amount of changes.
What is this budget that's in front of me at? 6.15 or 6.1326, or what is this one?
6.1, yeah.
And what was the other option we had? 6 point.
1.13 something.
Yeah.
6 point, but what we had, 6.26.
Yeah. Right. That's the one we recommended.
And
Did you want to see it?
It should have been, it's in the book.
no, I just remember 6.1326, that's the number in my head.
Right.
I've got a question. Can I ask questions at this point on each department?
You can?
I'm going to ask about the city clerk's department.
Okay.
We've got 3 positions now, and it looks like, and I know I'm talking names now because it has to be clear. Angela is the executive secretary.
Yes.
Only 2.
There's only 2 positions, the city clerk and the assistant city clerk.
Okay, but we list 3 positions, and what I don't remember last year, we didn't have assistant city clerk, or we didn't have assistant.
Okay, if you look for last year, we had a city clerk and an executive secretary. If
Okay.
you look at adopted 13-14 staffing, and then no assistant city clerk. And then for current year, we have 1 city clerk, no executive secretary, and 1 assistant city clerk.
Same people, just a title change for one.
Okay, but let me just ask, so in last year's budget, the one we're working in now, and I don't have that in front of me, I can't pull it up. What does it say for the city clerk? For the current staffing, what does it say under city clerk for the one we're in now?
And that would be the first column there, the adopted 13-14 staffing.
So it does say city clerk, executive secretary, and assistant city clerk.
There's no position there. There's only one city clerk and 1 executive secretary. The reason why that has 0 is because I added a line for the new year.
I think we're on the same subject, but we're missing it. We're adding so for the 2014-15 staffing, we've added this assistant city clerk,
Correct, and to no longer have the executive.
the executive secretary.
That's right.
Okay. I saw a sign on the door. Says assistant city clerk. Has that been done now already?
Effective August 1st. I did make it effective August 1st.
Okay.
And that is to enable her to receive further training that you can get as assistant city clerk versus secretary.
Okay. And thank you.
Mhm.
So in the current year budget that we're in today,
Yes, sir?
that assistant city clerk was not in there.
That's right. That
So
was
it-
the other position, which
It was executive secretary. But we made her assistant city clerk
That's right.
August 1st.
Right, sir.
No money change.
There's no salary change.
That was the next question.
No
There
salary
was
change.
no change in salary
No.
for that. So in this, okay, that answered the next question. So going to 2014-15, what we're going to have October 1st, is there a salary increase to go from executive secretary?
The only change would be across the board for everybody.
So the 4% will be in there going from executive secretary to assistant city clerk.
But that's for everybody.
And because traditionally, Jennifer, what we've seen come out of some of these offices is that when there's a change in position, there was a increase.
Okay,
So I just want to make sure that didn't happen.
I would like to clarify that when she's in training now with the Florida Association of City Clerks, and when she does obtain her certified municipal clerk certification, then I would give her an increase.
She'll
Because then she would be a
apply for
certified,
one, and then we'll consider it.
Okay.
like a 5%.
And then just to, and remember, I brought this up in the past. The city clerk, we're not saying here, and I know it's one word and one little thing, we're calling her the assistant city clerk,
Yes, sir.
not assistant to the city clerk, which is just a little word. But we're now saying, are we saying now that there's been a decision made, she will be the next city clerk at some point?
Absolutely not.
It puts that picture out there for some. So I'm going to leave this alone. I wanted to, one, know about the money, and that's been answered. I wanted to know when that promotion took effect. And it didn't take effect with October 1st. It's taken effect in August, but there is no money involved in it. So it's just a title. And so as we go down the road and certifications come, and one day when Jenny retires, which she will never do, look at that. One day when that comes, then we make a decision as to whatever commission body is sitting up here will take that position. And I know the history of how the position has come over the years going back. So I just want that on the record where we are for money in this budget.
I can explain why I did it August 1st if you'd like.
I don't, you could if you want, but I don't
It's
need
just
it.
that there's a conference for the Florida Association of City Clerks in October, and she had to register now. And so I made it effective August 1st, so when she registered, she could get in as the assistant city clerk.
And not to beat this up anymore, but I am. We're funding those events. We're funding her education.
Yes, sir. It's in the training. It's in the training budget.
So we are funding her for city clerk position possibly, rather than if a guy out at the sewer plant goes to classes at Santa Fe or somewhere to grow, they pay for their own education. I don't know how that works, but I'm going to leave it alone, but I just want to make sure everybody knows where the dollars are going, and it's on the record.
We are funding some education for people in the water and sewer so they can get certified. So we pay for that.
And I also want to point out that she's not going to be a certified city clerk. She's just going to be a certified municipal clerk, whether that be assistant
What?
city clerk, deputy city clerk, or city clerk. So there's different positions. I'm glad I cleared that up.
There's a Okay.
There'll be somebody fairly qualified if Jenny goes to the hospital or has to be out for a period of time.
And let me just end this on a statement that every interaction I've had, so we should update her page update her email page that says executive secretary, that I get to her email signature says executive secretary.
She did.
Well, okay. So it should say assistant city clerk. every interaction I've had with Angela on records has been excellent. So, she's doing a job. And I'm in support. So this budget is at 6.15, not the 6.1326.
It is, but because there are
And what's the difference?
contingency in there, I'm still recommending the rollback.
I believe that in the 6.1326.
Right.
And it's only, what's the difference?
4,000 to 5, yeah. But it's
The step.
a step. And as I said, would really like to see our budget get to a point where we're below 6, because we're fairly high at 6. I realize in the Miami area and that they're all at 8 and 9, but I think for us here we can be below 6, 5.5 or something.
Can I continue, Mr. Mayor? And I think that's where I think we've seen this turnaround in the last 3 years, where we've seen population growth, and we've seen growth in construction.
Right.
I believe we can start rolling it back a little better, and to the public, it would look good if we kept it where it was at the 6.1326.
Anyone else? Question on the budget? Anyone from the audience?
I thought Mr. Barnes had questions on different departments.
That was the one I had there. The rest, I don't have I had notes in that book, but I'd be beating it up trying to look through it, and anyway, I'm okay with the budget as it is if we're at 6.1326. I do remember, now that we're talking about it, I had suggested there was some $60,000 on one of my notes where we had, I believe, what we talked about, excess funds, and I suggested David getting an employee, but I believe you've used that up for something. But we had talked about him being able to get an employee for, yeah. So,
Yes.
okay, and that was, I heard that, but, so I will leave that alone, except the reminder to keep pushing, or remind commissioners to push for budget amendments or changes, because I believe as we get into another subject in this thing, we're gonna see where streets are in need of more help.
Yes. 222 is being done as we speak.
Got my emails.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. I guess we pretty much discussed the tenant. I'm sorry, you got a question?
Well, I was just going to say, I'm guessing that with this is basically the final presentation, and
On the 11th?
And on September 11th, depending on what is determined on the millage, then it'll come back basically as it is.
That's right.
We're going to move on to the second item, determine the tender millage rate for adoption, September 11th. So you're basically recommending the
6.1326.
I'm okay with that. Are you going to want a motion on that, or you?
Yes, I think we have to take a vote.
I'll make a motion to adopt the tentative millage rate at 6.1326.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? Anyone from the audience?
Mr. Mayor, just
Mr. James.
number 3 on the deal says determine tentative millage rate for adoption added. So do we have to wait to adopt it at the budget meeting, or can we adopt it now? Because this just basically says let's come to a consensus where we're at.
Right. This is not adopting it tonight. This is you making your recommendation per
okay.
this vote, so that she's got it for
Gotcha.
your first budget hearing.
Right.
Very, thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicating by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. Going back to the health insurance. Is John here? Okay, good.
Thanks, John.
Good evening. My name is John White with Bouchard Insurance. I'm here to go over the health and ancillary products with the dental, life, disability, and vision. So this year it looks like my job's a little bit easier because it looks like the budget is approved for the plans that Mr. Booth just laid forth. I'm here to shed any light on the plans themselves. If you would like to know the difference of the two plans that we have in front of you, I'm here to help sort it out. The two plans that Mr. Booth has already gone over is that first page after tab 1, and I'm happy to open it up for discussion, or I can go into tab 2, whatever y'all would like.
What was the plan he recommended?
The plan was Blue Care Plan 42.
Would like to thank you for the work you did this morning with the PBA and
Sure.
answering their questions and things that we didn't know about.
Absolutely. Happy to help. Now, it's my understanding that we've got the Blue Care 42 that will be the sponsored plan by the city, and then there's a buy-up option of the Blue Options 5462. Is that correct?
Yeah, thank you.
So an employee can opt to pay the difference and get the more expensive plan.
Correct. It would be no more money out of the city's pocket, but if they wanted to pay the difference for the other plan, they can do so. Quite honestly, the biggest difference between the two plans is that the buy-up option, the Blue Options 5462, has out-of-network access.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, the city, the employees that have been on it and all the members historically, 98 to 99% in any one given year all the claims have been in network. So quite honestly, a lot of plans, a lot of employers just like you are opting to go to the in-network only plans because it does save money.
And as you explained it, even if they leave the state, the in plan still is in effect for the Blue Cross that's in that area. So
Absolutely. Yeah, there's two things that come into play. There's one that is called access to care. The other one is the Blue Card. Each Blue Cross entity, they're all nonprofit healthcare organizations within each state. They're not one organization globally. They're independent of one another. So if you're in another state, they all have Blue Cross options. They just coordinate with one another. And so for any emergency situations, not only in the United States, but anywhere abroad, if it is a true emergency, it will be covered as an in-network procedure or visit. But even so, if you're out and you have an earache and you need to go to an ENT, you would just call the number on the back of the ID card and have that care coordinated.
Commissioner Barnes?
So the budget that we have now is based on the 484.51 or adjustments for family. Okay, but they can pay for that. But it's the plan. It's that plan 42.
Yes.
The employees that are, excuse me, are not, that are in the new union, is this negotiable with them, or is this what they will get and then we'll negotiate going into next year?
No, sir, we negotiated this morning,
Oh, okay.
and I gotta be careful about.
No, he's asking about the non-PBA.
Oh, the
The non-PBA people, the non-PBA group of city employees, do we have an agreement with them yet, or will that come into next year?
No, sir, we do, and in fact, they even voted on it, and they will accept the insurance, basically whatever PBA accepts. So they're kind of on the coattails of the other union. And the firemen, which are not in a union, will get the 42 also. So across the board, everybody will get 42, which meets Obamacare requirements when it comes out, that everybody has to be the same.
So
This, Commissioner Barnes, this Blue Care 42 is a better plan, is a stronger plan than what the current non-PBA
Right.
members have. So this is
So it's a plus for
it's
them.
a plus
Oh, this is a big-
for
It's a
The-
huge plus
the
as far as plan
non-PBA.
design.
Because I remember that $300 plan, it was like a $300 plan we had for them. It was like really poor.
And quite honestly, nobody took that plan.
So this is a plus for them, but, and apparently there's some kind of vote that says they're gonna go along with that, or they can probably negotiate it again if they wanted to at any point into the next year. But that's what's in our budget, and that's what we're moving forward with. I would, again, thank you for the work. It looks like we've survived a serious issue with police and everything at this point. Where it goes, we'll see.
I'll spare you the details of how we got there. The good news is that we got there.
Yeah, it's a good thing. That's why you're here. We pay you the big bucks.
That's right. That's right.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
just real quick on the deal is, we're not designating Plan 42. We're designating a certain amount of money, and if they want to go up, they can go up. I mean, we're gonna basically do that. If you take that plan, it doesn't cost you any extra, but you have the opportunity to go up. So we're not mandating a plan, just a dollar amount which accesses that plan.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
Any other questions, John?
Good job, man.
Anyone?
There's the dental and life and disability we need to get into too. but-
Okay.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Okay. We ready to get into that?
Okay,
Turn the page? Okay, tab 2. So for the dental currently, actually for all the ancillary lines except for the vision, the dental is with standard. We've had standard now, I believe, since 2010. And this year the renewal came out pretty hot. So the renewal was 19%. Standard was not willing to negotiate that down at all. So we did take it out to the marketplace, and the best package for not only dental, but also life and long-term disability, the 3 plans that Standard has right now, Mutual of Omaha came back with a competitive package. So that's what we wanted to discuss with you now. So the dental plan, as I mentioned, is a 19% increase to keep Standard. Mutual of Omaha came back matching the exact 2 dental plans that we have now at a roughly, if we round up, 11% increase, so saving the employees. And this is a voluntary, this is not an employer-paid, a city-paid benefit. So this is voluntary, so we'd be able to save the employees 8% off of that renewal if we went to Mutual of Omaha. We did do our due diligence, and earlier today I sent to Jenny for the zip codes that we had on the census for the employees in the city. We pulled down a network or a network of dentists, and I had her just survey the employees that she had, and it appeared that there was a really good match for nobody's going to have to change dentists. So there's one thing of saving money on a dental plan. There's another thing if we save money and nobody has access to care. I want to make sure that we all have access to care as well.
Hold on one second. Sir, can y'all hear back there? Can y'all hear? Yeah? Can y'all hear? Y'all can hear? Oh, in the blue shirt right there. So you keep. Can you hear, sir? Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. No problem. So the Mutual of Omaha, and we can come back to this, but this is a kind of a group package. So Mutual of Omaha is competitive on the dental. I'll ask you any questions on the dental. Okay. The next tab gets into the group life insurance. So the group life insurance with the standard for this year had no increase. However, Mutual of Omaha came forth and gave us a quote that was going to save on an annual basis $463 for the exact same benefit, with one caveat. What I learned is that you have to study these policies very closely when we're trying to get quotes. Standard does a lot of municipality business. And the reason for that is because on their life insurance, there's included in their AD&D, which is accidental death and dismemberment. Included on that for anybody who is injured or dismembered or killed in the line of duty, so it would be your firefighters and police officers, there's an additional $50,000 benefit if they are injured or killed in the line of duty, in addition to the life insurance. Okay. Now, I also do understand through the League of Mercy, you all have a similar policy for all employees that I believe is $60,000 if they are injured or killed in the line of duty. So Mutual of Omaha does not have that in their contract, nor can they get that in their contract. So I wanted to make sure that we are comparing apples to apples, and you all know that we're not just saving money, but there is a little difference in the policy and the contract. And that's something that we need to bring up to discussion to, is that something that you all want and need for your employees, the AD&D, the additional AD&D benefit, or is the discussion, we already have it with the League of Mercy, we don't need it in additional policy, so let's save a little bit of money and go with Mutual of Omaha. And that may, when we turn the page, and we can come back to all of this because I want to talk about all three of these together because I want you to see all three Mutual of Omaha proposals. On the next page is the long-term disability. This is matching contract for contract, and this is saving, if we went to Mutual of Omaha, saving the city $1,200, $1,264 on an annual basis. Again, the renewal for the standard was a 0%. There was a rate pass, but Mutual of Omaha is coming in with a strong proposal with that. So now the discussion is, now that you know all three policies, the dental, the life, the AD&D, and the long-term disability, does it make sense to switch to Mutual of Omaha and save the city some money and also save the employees some money on the dental? Or is that AD&D piece of the standard, that additional $50,000 benefit, something that you want to hold and keep and pay the premium on? That I can't make the decision for.
Vice Mayor Will.
Question, all right, so on the life, that the employee pays for that total?
No, ma'am, that is an employer-paid benefit.
Oh, I'm sorry, I guess it was the dental.
Yes, ma'am,
So
the dental.
The long-term and the life we pay for?
Yes.
Okay. I'm okay with Mutual of Omaha. I don't know about anybody else.
I think the one thing Mutual of Omaha is saying here too is I think you're giving them $60,000. You don't need to do the other. But the other thing is Mutual of Omaha on the rate guarantee, they say it's guaranteed for 2 years, where the other one says not applicable. So assuming with, you know, by going here that you've got it for 2 years, the other one, it could change again next year.
And it will change again next year.
Yeah, guaranteed.
Yeah.
So I mean, that is something to at least, you know, you have 2 years where it's there.
Absolutely.
So I say go to Mutual of Omaha.
I agree. Commissioner Bonas, Commissioner
I'm okay with it, yeah.
Commissioner Gesser.
Okay. And then the last page is right after the long-term disability, and that's the vision. There's really no need for much discussion on here. It is with Humana. It's a strong vision program. It is voluntary, I believe, to the employees. And there's a slight increase of 3%, which is just a change of, 20 cents for an employee. So, oh, is it paid by the city? Okay. I apologize. So that is paid by the city, but there is a very slight increase on that.
$80, I guess.
About $80 a year.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Any more
Thank
questions?
you, John.
You're welcome.
Comments? Anyone from the audience? Okay, thank you, John, so much for your,
All
for
right.
your work.
Thank you all. Good to see you all.
All right. See you next year.
Yeah.
Commissioner Barnes?
Ed, it seems like when we were all worried last year, we've come out okay. It looks like it's going to work out okay. I'm not sure if it's the delay in the Obamacare that's helped us or what it is, but we did not see a day, I did not see a day coming like today where the numbers would work as well as they're working right now. So whether it's your hard work or circumstances that have gotten us there, the city's, I'm glad to see the city's in the shape that it's in with this because,
It's really all the above.
yeah, I'm thinking so.
More so the hard work.
Thank you. And,
Again, I'll spare you the details.
and again, I really don't want to understate how important this is to our budget. This is a huge chunk in our budget, and it could have meant a lot more money than we're looking at today. And so how we got there from all the above and mostly the hard work is commendable to all involved.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
All right, thank you.
Take care.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on to unfinished business. Consider ordinance 2014-02.
Mr. Mayor, this is ordinance 2014-02, an ordinance of the Commissioners of the City of High Springs, Florida, providing for local implementation of both year-round water conservation measures and temporary water shortage restrictions, providing for recognition of related rules of the Suwannee River Water Management District, providing definitions, providing for enforcement and penalties, providing for codification, repealing any inconsistent provisions, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Mr. Mayor, the appropriate motion is to pass ordinance 2014/02 on second reading.
Thank you. At this time, I open up the public hearing for public input. Anyone from the public? Okay. Seeing none, at this time, I close the public hearing. Commission, what's your pleasure on this?
I make a motion that we pass ordinance 2014-02 on the second reading.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? Okay, hearing none. Madam Clerk?
Mayor Williams,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weller,
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes,
Yes.
Commissioner Gestrin,
No.
Commissioner James.
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance passed 4-1. Okay. Move on to citizens' requests and comments for issues not on the agenda. Please give your name for the record and limit your comments to 5 minutes.
I'm Betty Shumpert. I live at 22973 Railroad Avenue. I'm just here for concern that I worked booths on Tuesday and I was at the Civic Center. And the part that was so, I guess I would say embarrassing, was myself and Yvonne, we were the only in-town people working. Everybody else was out of town. That place is terrible and dirty. Got roaches running everywhere. There was no place almost for us to relax, go get your dinner. We found open up the office, that little office back there. And we were able to go back there. The only place was clean was the bathroom. We didn't want to eat dinner in the bathroom. But even in that office, we could sit at the desk, but the clothes in there were terrible. So I think somebody need to clean the civic center.
Yeah.
All in that room where those tables go, it's all kind of junk. No wonder we have roaches. Microwave, everything is dirty. Some of our new people had to help us to kind of get it fixed so we could use that. That's my concern.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Betty.
You bet. I'll have Raymond start inspecting that on a daily basis.
And if there's roaches, can we have it fumigated or roach?
We can. We just got a new contract to do so, and he seems to be killing a lot of roaches in this building, and we should be able to,
Okay.
Great. Okay. So do we have somebody that go out there and clean on a regular basis, or?
no, but
No?
we're about to. This budget contains an individual that'll start cleaning it, but we'll send somebody out there tomorrow and make sure that it's cleaned. And then the implementation of this budget coming up will put somebody to clean both the police department, civic center, and community center, and this building.
Great. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else has a question? Okay. Now we're moving on to new business. Consider a request the use of the Civic Center from by Mr. Olin Barber. I think he's in the audience. Yes, sir.
I'm Olin Barber, and I live at 17281 Southside.
Press the button.
Turn the,
The,
I'm Olin Barber, and I live at 17281 Southside Court in the city of High Springs. And we being the group that I'm with, has had a program in existence for 10 years at Providence, in which we do a dinner and entertainment for seniors. And we run from 5 to 11. We usually start the entertainment at 6, but it takes us a while to get set up. We ended at 10, but then it takes a while to get cleared out and cleaned up after we get through with that. It consists of live music, and it also consists of a dinner that's brought in by the seniors themselves. Okay, they bring the food in, they set up a buffet line, they have a meal, we have a social gathering, and then we do some music which consists of the old type country and gospel. We've been doing this for 10 years. Our building is being modified. They're expanding it, and so it's been shut down for construction, and we'll need 8 weeks in order to continue this without interruption. I've been requested to come in and see if we could bring it to High Springs, because we have some people from High Springs that come out to this. And this is a long-running program. We've never had an issue. We do have a very strong rule that there's no drinking or bad behavior tolerated. We don't have smoking in the building. And the people that come there are mostly a Christian group. And for some of our seniors that's been coming out there for almost 10 years, we've lost a few along the way because the older ones do pass on. But the ones that are still there, they enjoy it. Every time they come out, they usually bring new people. For some of them, it's the only recreation that they have. There's no charge. There's no fees. They provide the food. We provide the entertainment. They help set up and clean up, the ones that come out there. And I've listed, I think you have the memo, we've listed the dates that we actually need to use this for. It's during the time that Providence will be shut down.
okay. And that's Monday nights.
It's on, yeah. Yes, it's on Monday nights.
Okay, and that's September 8th through the October 27th.
Right. Yes, sir, that is correct.
Commissioner Weller.
it's my understanding that there are no conflicts with them using the Civic Center. That's correct?
That is,
I'll make a motion that we approve the use of the Civic Center for the seniors as indicated from the date September 8th through October 27th with no fee, no charge to them.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Questions? Anyone from the audience? I think it's a good program. Thank you for
Thank you, sir.
trying to come to High Springs. All in favor, indicate by saying. Yes, I'm saying?
No, just make sure you do that part.
Yeah. All in favor, come by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay, motion carries. Again, thank you for doing this. You're welcome. Thank you. Okay. Number 2, discuss the tax abatement for Plantation Oaks.
I guess I can talk a little bit about it. This has been an issue once before, and I believe the council did an ordinance, but it never really went forward. It is an economic development really issue. Whether the Plantation Oaks qualified or didn't qualify, they certainly do now because they have expanded their facility and there's required 50 employees and such that is there. It is really the will of the commission whether it goes forward or not.
Okay, Commissioner Barnes?
I put this on the agenda, and I remember we did vote to move forward with this at some point in the past, and then it was sent to the county or sent to the attorney's office, and at some point we were told all we needed was a letter, and we never did a letter. Nobody, I don't know who was supposed to do the letter, but my understanding is Mr. Bates at the county office now says all we need to do as a city is send a letter. But I've never heard exactly what that letter is, the content that should be. And I think what's in front of the commission today is, one, this is a legal question, can we make it retroactive if we wanted to do it for all his whole property, or do we talk about it as just his new construction for the next X amount of years? And that's the question I have, that I think Mr. Bates has to come here, or you, or city attorney's got to meet with tax assessor and see what they will allow us to do. But I'm in favor of finding out what a letter has to state. I mean, truly getting down to that, what a letter has to state and what this commission would be willing to approve. If we could approve it retroactive, I'd be fine with that. If it can't go retroactive, I'd be fine with new construction and moving forward. But I think we deserve to do this to businesses that come into town, and it shows good faith. And to not finally grab this by the horns and deal with it properly, quickly, and get it done to the satisfaction of the business owner, I think we're dropping the ball and we're sending the wrong message. So I put it on the agenda to see if there was support for it. And if there is, then we go to the next meeting and find out what needs to be in the letter and decide on the amount or what we can put in the letter. So that's kind of where I'm at today.
Vice Mayor Waller?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I researched this and went back and looked at the minutes and everything, and we actually did pass a resolution. It was 2012-E on May 24th for this. I guess two things. And my understanding it was forwarded to the county, but I think just as Commissioner Barnes said, I'd like to have something in writing from the county saying what they want, what they need from us for this, just so it's for the file, for the records that we have it. And then and we can discuss when it comes back to us, whether it be retroactive, or we can do it retroactive or not. But as far as the new construction goes, they would have, I think, they'd have to put in an application just like they did for originally on the old, when they originally came in.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but they would need a new application.
We do have an advantage with the law firm we have now. We have hired the former county attorney, and he knows quite a bit about it. So it's easy to get to him and have him do a quick presentation.
And that's something, if you guys want to take a vote now to direct the attorney's office to look into this and meet with the county. You did pass a resolution based on your ordinance that you passed in 2010 when you had a referendum election to be able to offer this kind of tax abatement for economic incentive. So we would need to go back and check the original application. If there's going to be a new application, it gets sent to the county, and then the county sends it back to you, and as a commission you would have to adopt an ordinance then granting the tax abatement, but there would need to be a public hearing and give people the opportunity to come in. I'm not sure if Plantation Oaks is in our CRA district, but you have to give, if it is, you have to give any other taxing authority notice and ability to come forward. So if it's, the will of the commission, then certainly our office can talk to the county and find out where we are and make sure that this application meets the requirements of the state statute and our ordinance.
I'll make a motion to direct the city attorney's office to get with the county and to bring back something in writing from the county explaining what it is that they're looking for or what they need from us in order to move forward on this if we desire to move forward on it.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. James?
I want to be consistent on the deal. I voted against the abatement, so people know I'll vote against it this time too. And I'll vote simply for the reason that the application met none of the criteria. It didn't reach any of the criteria. And we voted it through anyways. So if we're going to have a process to where you have to meet certain levels to achieve something, and we allow people to get something without meeting those levels, then I think we ought to remove it and just basically have somebody come in, give a presentation, and we just decide whether to give them a break or not. There seems to be no reason to have an application process, have the person fail the application process, and then go ahead and pass it anyways. So I just want to be consistent. I will, you want to have a letter that comes back and everything like that, I'm all for that. I just think we need to look long-term, look down the road, that if we're going to require people to fulfill a requirement, they don't fulfill the requirement, but we give it to them otherwise, we open our door as to who we give it to, who we don't to, if there's no criteria to base it on. And so I think this is a cloudy area we're going to. I said it back then, so I'm saying the same thing now. But that's my opinion on it. Thank you.
Commissioner Barnes?
And it's my opinion that when that application came through, it did meet many of the criteria. So that's how I felt about it. And apparently 4 commissioners did appear to look at the application and feel that criteria was met. So also for the record, I'll be consistent with what I've said, and I'll support an abatement that's good for a community, that's good for growth. And I would look forward to any evidence that it didn't meet the criteria. So, thank you.
Yeah, let me come back on that. I think it's on the record that we know it didn't, but we have the to override it. And what the commission did is they overrode it. It did meet the criteria, it did meet the threshold. Now we can go back and look at it. But the legal advice at the time said that we had the power to override the application process. That's what the vote was on. So we can go back and check it, but you can do whatever you want. It's going to go. And I'm not against an abatement. I'm against. My dad was a private businessman for 45 years. But why have a process if you're not going to follow it? And in this case, we did not follow it, and we overrode a deficient application and awarded the abatement.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you.
Yes.
I just want to make it clear, you did grant a resolution approving the application and
Yes.
sending it to the county. You did not grant the tax abatement. It still has to come back from the county, and you as a commission have to adopt an ordinance then granting the abatement. So you did approve the application and send it on, but you did not grant a tax abatement.
Thank you.
As I recall, Mr. Mayor, it was also the county encouraging us to do so, to follow through with the process. So we weren't just doing it on our own. And exceptions are made to a lot of different things on a regular basis, not just this.
Time to speak.
No.
Mr. Peter, tax abatement, the concept is we would like you to come to our city and open a business. Because we're afraid you might go somewhere else, we're going to possibly give you an incentive. And we're actually going to reduce your taxes if you decide to come here instead of going somewhere else. So your ordinance says, if you want a tax abatement, fill out an application before you come here, before you open your business, before you expand your business. So the application has to predate the decision to come here and open a business. As Commissioner Jamison said, if you just want to give bonuses for businesses for being here, that's fine. Just vote to give them money. Thank you for opening the care center or the Plantation Oaks. Thank you for opening the apartment complex. Here's some money. Thank you for opening the Great Outdoors. Here's some money. But if they're saying, I want to open a restaurant and I'm going to hire 40 people, will you give me a tax abatement? And they fill out an application and you say, yes, if you come here, we'll give you a tax abatement. That's how it works. So they had to file it first, which they didn't, unfortunately. The second question is, do they meet the definition of a new business or an expansion of an existing business? Your definition is very simple. 10 manufacturing jobs or 25 non-manufacturing jobs. You have a letter from Plantation Oaks. We currently employ 23 people. They have 23 people. It doesn't meet the definition of a new business with 25 people or an expansion of a business with 25 people. Your former city manager didn't understand the ordinance, and under pressure of the commission, she said, yes, they meet the definition of a new business, so I think you should approve this. Based on the advice of your former city attorney that really didn't understand the ordinance and said, I think you have a lot of leeway under Florida Statute Chapter 166 or whatever this comes under to grant these, which is a true statement. If they meet the definition of a new business or expansion of an existing business, you have a lot of leeway whether to grant the exception or not and how much you wish to grant based on your ordinance and your resolution that you passed that sets how much you might actually grant in tax abatement. But in this case, they didn't apply ahead of time, and they don't have 25 employees, or they didn't at the time. If they were going to expand and create 5 more new jobs, they should have come here first and said, we want to do this. You don't reward them after the fact and say, thanks for coming to town on your own volition without any requirement that we give you a tax abatement, but now that you came here, we'll give you some of our money. That's just not how tax abatement works. They clearly didn't meet the definition at the time they applied, and unfortunately applied late. If they can document 25 employees and it meets the standard of more than the average wage in your county or whatever the definition is, maybe then you can start thinking about whether to do this sort of exception and say, well, we know they filed late, but the ordinance was in place. But your mayor promised them the money, and you shouldn't give it to them just because the mayor promised it to them.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, my name is Mike Kearney, and just to follow up on Mr. DePeter, I must have missed this whenever this was going on about this tax abatement, but what kind of a tax abatement was offered to them, and why hasn't this been offered to other people when new businesses are coming to town? That was 1 minute and a half.
Okay. I guess, Madam Attorney, you got a lot of questions that need to be
Right. Well,
answered.
I can answer that one, that under your ordinance, businesses can come and make an application for tax abatement.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so basically you said tonight we're not voting on the tax abatement, we're just voting to do what we need to do to go forward.
Right, that there's a motion to direct the city attorney's office to look into the merits of this application and to talk to the county and find out, do all the procedural steps we need to do to bring it back to you so that you can make an informed decision.
Okay, any other questions, any more comments? So he said, how much was it?
Right, there is no current tax abatement for Plantation Oaks.
There's a schedule, though, in the ordinance, I believe, as to what that percentage is.
And what, I mean, I don't have the application in front of me to know what they pay in taxes and what that number would be.
Commissioner Barnes?
Now, I think it probably behooves us to, when we get to discussing on this, is to maybe get the audio of that meeting, or we all should review that audio, because while I recall the letter that was presented by Mr. DePeter, about employees. There was extensive discussion at that meeting about how they arrived at those number of employees. And there was also discussion that said they probably had more employees than that. So I think that's what we based our vote on, but I believe it did qualify at the time, or we did modify it based on what we felt they were going to have as employees. But to kind of, the abatement was a percentage. There's a chart somewhere that talks about the percentage that we could reduce their taxes or not charge them taxes for a period of time. And that's really what it's all about. So I think as this comes back to us, that's what we decide on. Is it the total property? Is it just do they need a new application for just the new improvements? And how much the percentage will be and for how long it will be. So I think that whole door can be opened. And I don't think that ordinance was in place when they were breaking ground. So that was a question that I still don't remember exactly. But we had talked about doing it, and it was in the process. So if there's consensus to move it forward, we open this whole thing up again and either start it anew or get the letter from the county what they want and just do what they ask. So again, support for business in this town, and any business that's coming to town can ask for this. And I believe there's also a provision in there for existing businesses expanding.
Yes, your ordinance has a definition of what would be considered a new business and what would be considered an expanding business.
So it is out there, just as CRA money is out there for people in the downtown.
Right, this is ordinance 2010-21, I believe, so anyone could come up and get a copy of that or and make an application.
So, motion for any other discussion? Anyone from the audience? Okay, we'll vote on the motion at this time. All in favor, come by saying aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carries 4-1. Commissioner James will vote against it.
Well, that's just simply to ask them, we're not voting
On that,
this is just an informational vote.
Yes.
Okay, let's make sure people aren't going out there hypocritical, the guy argues against it.
Did you
Let's
vote
get
for
the
it or against it?
information. We're voting to get the information. That's all
voted.
that vote was for.
Yeah.
Information. Yes, I want the information.
So it's 5-0. Okay, moving on to number 3, discuss on requesting Alachua County to the House Rescue Unit at High Springs Police Fire Department.
Mr. Mayor, that was my item. There has been, I know our fire department, our fire chief, and I believe our city manager has talked to the county manager on this issue. I know when the county commission came here for a joint meeting, we talked to them. It was mentioned to them or brought up to them. But the reason I put this on here was because they, just like us, are getting into their budget. And I think we should make an official request with a representative officially representing the commission to appear before the county commission and ask them to consider and encourage them to include this in their budget. We all know I'm sure from what our chief has told us that response times are becoming a problem here. We have the room in our fire department to house a rescue unit. I guess it's an ALS unit that we're talking about, right? Yes. And I mean, I know it will be an expense to the county, obviously, because they'll have to provide a truck and employees to man that, but they certainly don't have to come up with the building and that type of thing. So I would just request that we identify, or preferably the mayor, appear before the county commission and encourage them to look to find the money to put that in their agenda, in their budget.
Any more discussion?
Is that a motion to do that?
I'll make a motion for our mayor to appear before the county commission to encourage them to include an ALS unit to be stationed at the High Springs Fire Department.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? With that being said, but I would love for the manager to go with me and the
Be glad to.
fire chief.
Cost you a cup of coffee, but
We can handle that, and a donut.
I'm quite all right with that.
Okay, and that's, no more discussion, all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay, motion carries. So, we can find out when the next meeting, when we can
I
present this
certainly
one?
will. Yeah, we'll set it up,
Okay, thank you, sir.
put on the agenda, their agenda.
Agenda, right. Okay. Moving on to number 4, consider awarding bids for property and liability insurance for the year of 2014-15.
Yes, sir. You have in front of you the 2 bids that came in. When I first got here, I solicited from other insurance companies and the League of Cities to bid on the insurance, and nobody did. But this year, we do have an additional bid. Bids came in at $286,000 for Brown and Brown, and then Florida League of Cities is $208,700. It's $75,000. So it's the lowest bid. Like everything, there's no apples to apples and oranges to oranges. This bid did not, the Florida League did not include the CRA. They consider the CRA as a separate organization, as it is in almost every other city, but the insurance itself won't be more than $5,000 at the max. And the insurance companies are both here, and they can certainly make a presentation, and you can certainly ask questions and then make a decision. Our decision, of course, would be the League of Cities because it's the lowest bid.
Okay. Any questions before we bring them up? Okay, I guess we would go with Brown and Brown. Somebody from the office?
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
My name is Paul Dawson. I'm with the Public Risk Insurance Agency. We're a Brown & Brown company. I have had the distinct pleasure of providing risk management services to the city's property and casualty program for the last 17 years. And I can tell you, never has the phrase penny wise and pound foolish been more appropriate than it is tonight. As Mr. Booth so eloquently put, there's never an apples to apples comparison. No 2 policies are created the same. My attempt is to bring some of those differences to your attention so that you know where we have provided some exceptional service to the city in the past. If the city had any other insurance other than current insurance in place in the last several years, taxpayers would be out over $170,000. That is because we provide coverage for non-monetary injunctive relief claims like sunshine, public records, injunctive relief, etc. Some of you may be familiar with some of the claims I'm talking about. They've been extensive. To date, we are at $500,000 in claims for the last 3.5 years. The FMIT doesn't provide coverage for these claims. They do not provide coverage for civil actions that do not have money damages, that are injunctive relief in nature. You, uniquely enough, have had a lot of those, and we've been your partner through all those difficult times. And the administrative proceedings, you've had many of those as well, and we provide 100% of the defense cost for those as well. Those are typically the employment practice claims. The league gives you just a 50% reimbursement of those. So while their insurance is cheap, it also doesn't cover a lot of the claims you've already had. That would certainly explain the difference in cost. We're planning on continuing to cover a lot of the claims you've had, and insurance certainly is for the future. If we knew what was going to happen, we wouldn't buy insurance. We would know. We also, and there's a lot of other coverage differences. I don't want to get into a lot of detail. I don't know to what detail the staff has looked at each policy. I don't know that the differences have been disclosed by FMIT. But I can only tell you some highlights. Sewer backup is another one. You guys have a relatively new. I was here when the plant was updated. We provide sewer backup coverage. Our limit is twice what theirs is. They're only going to do incidental cleanup. We do bodily injury, the whole 9 yards. The property coverage is also different. You got about $1 million of what we call property in the open: fences, lights, signs, benches, traffic lights if you own any, that we automatically cover, no charge. And anywhere from 10 to 15% of any city, based on my research, is made up of these things. So switching to the other carrier, you're automatically uninsured for those things. If you want insurance, you'd have to add them, and there'd be another cost. Now, in the last few years, when the claims cost reached $400,000, being in contact with all your previous city managers and finance directors, Helen McIver and I spoke, and I said, you really need to go out and try to find some other coverage. We need something to compare this against, because our quote was very high, which was still only 1/3 of what we were paying in claims at the time. So we were treating you as a very good partner, quite honestly. Nobody would provide coverage. The very next year, as Mr. Booth pointed out, nobody else except us was willing to insure you guys for the risk. Of course, FMIT has shown up this year. Quite honestly, it's getting better. We're trending to the positive, even though some of the current claims we're working on are continuing to grow. And again, fortunately, we remained as you're insured during those times. We didn't have to. There are several examples of insurance carriers flat out non-renewing cities when the time gets tough. FMIT has done it twice. When the city of McClenny got ugly, they non-renewed it. And guess who came in and rescued them? We did. City of High Springs, same thing. Had a lot of large public official liability claims. The FMIT non-renewed them. And guess who came in and rescued them? We did. So we've been an excellent, excellent partner, and we will always be an excellent partner. And if God forbid, the claims get ugly again, you can count on us. We will be there for you. You know, I just believe that the taxpayers deserve the very best protection of their assets. And I can assure you, you've had that in the past. And I would encourage you to continue that relationship. And I will offer that I notice we're about $12,000 over the budget. And I can promise you that at renewal, I can make up that difference so you don't have to affect the budget. And the other thing I can certainly attest to is our ability to reduce the premium even when claims are not as favorable as they should be. Last year, we reduced the premium by 25%, even though claims were increasing. So again, financially, coverage-wise, defense-wise, we've always been there for you, and we certainly like the honor to be able to do so, starting tonight, I guess. Thank you for your attention.
Yeah. Any questions? Okay. Somebody here from the Florida League of Cities? Yes.
I'm Tom Conley. I'm with Florida League of Cities. Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Booth is familiar with the League's program. I know your attorney is as well, and Jenny and Jennifer have been with cities that have had the League's insurance. The League, as you know, is your association for the cities. We exist to serve cities. That's why we're in the insurance business. Our cities needed us in the 70s when the insurance market had abandoned the cities. The League formed the Florida Municipal Insurance Trust to address that issue. And today we are the largest insurer of the cities in Florida. There's a reason that almost 70% of the cities have their insurance with us. Virtually every city around here is with us. I think if all the doom and gloom that was just painted were in fact all true, those cities wouldn't be with us. There would be a mass exodus from our program, and in fact the opposite is true. Cities continue to join the program. I would love to get into all these specifics of coverage with you if you want, but some of those things were incorrect. The property in the open statements, that's not correct. It is true that there is a difference in the coverage on the Sunshine and how those claims are handled. However, I would like to think that the city is in a different place than it was 4 years ago, And we would like to partner with you now going forward and keep those kind of things from happening again. Our board is a group of local elected officials, and they make the decisions each year on how our coverages are set up. And that was just a decision our board has made, that the taxpayer dollars should not go towards covering activities that can get into criminal area. So that's just a coverage decision our board has made, and not that had that particular coverage. Doesn't mean it never will be added on there. We have added some coverage for ethics and things like that. So if you'd like to get into detail about coverages, I'll be happy to do that with you if that factors into your decision. But we would love to start working again with the city. We have had your coverage in the past. We had the work comp up until last year. It got moved from us for a cheaper premium last year, but we'd love to have you back in the program.
Any questions?
When do we have to make this decision before the next budget? Is it, what's in the budget right now?
What I sent in your packet, that's what's in the budget.
But
The
so
higher,
what you have budgeted is 273,000 from, on this form here?
yes,
The $273,980 is what, and that's for the upcoming budget, 2014-15, that's what we budgeted.
We had to use all the higher numbers.
Right.
I can't never get this thing acting like I wanted to look at it.
You have, you see that?
I would like to point out that the deductibles in our court are much better in a lot of areas. We sort of got into that when you were comparing them, and that's pointed out in there. I don't know if they're.
yeah, you can see there's some difference in deductible amounts.
Do you have another page?
It's in your,
I don't, I never, it never comes up on my,
You also have it on your desk with this here as well. I put something on your desk as well that breaks down the coverages as well.
I got it.
this would, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
This would be one of those questions, while I know it becomes our vote, I would really like your input and Ed's input as we say, staff, as to what we think. Well, yeah, we seem to be doing better. Who knows where it's going, and I just don't want to be left out there. So I'm really looking for staff suggestion on this. Well, they've been great. Is saving the money going to help us? We went to, did we have this year self-insured? We had some self-insured money too, didn't we?
No, we decided not to do that.
Okay.
And we went ahead and paid the higher premiums. This year it's down quite a bit. We can go and do more of an analysis and then come back to you on the 11th. We don't have time. Okay? Yeah. Then again, I guess it's staff's recommendation, 75,000. I understand the issue over the sunshine, but I'm about to talk about paragraph 112 of the state statute that just went into effect, and it will probably leave the individual on his own if there are complaints. But in the past, just because there is a complaint does not necessarily mean there is a real issue. And I've had a number of complaints, and they always get thrown out, and that's what would happen here if there's not a real issue. However, if you do have a real issue, then it becomes criminal. And then you have to get your own attorney anyway. That's what the new law basically
So what's your concern about 112?
112, nothing, it's just, it puts a more criminal element into it that the individual would need to get his own attorney to be able to defend himself rather than the city.
It's more the accountability on the individual as opposed to the city as the oversight person.
That is correct, and and I'll discuss it a little bit when it gets to my time, but it puts some requirements on the individual. And so the need for insurance is becoming less under this for the city, but probably more for the individual.
So you would feel comfortable with the lower bid?
I would. I've had the league insurance in the past, had them through hurricanes and many other issues, and I've never had any problem. I've had them through hurricanes from this state in this league insurance. One thing I do like is they go in there and they do an assessment of all your buildings, equipment, and everything else. So we need that done anyway. So we're a little behind the 8 ball as far as doing the capital.
I don't mean to interrupt, Mr. Booth, but we've done a full independent appraisal of all the city's property.
Okay.
Just before we publish.
Sure.
No cost.
Got it.
It's been done.
So it comes down to numbers. And again, that's staff's recommendation.
But what's in the budget right now?
What it's the higher amount. We budgeted the worst case, and then we didn't know that there would be a savings, to be honest with you, until we just got the bids.
But Brown & Brown is a little bit higher than $12,000, I guess, basically higher than what's in the budget. What's
Right.
being budgeted.
But it was my understanding that they would adjust that before it went into operation, so they're equal.
Yeah.
And there's more coverage under the Brown & Brown, and we have 17 years track record.
Well, I agree, there's some track record there. I have a little bit of a problem adjusting your bid, though.
Well, they're willing to conform to our budget, is what I heard them say.
Yeah.
But my question is this: with all the lawsuits and not being abandoned and changes and rechanging and rewrites of what's expected, at least we have longevity with this other company. And we've needed the extra coverage. We've needed the support of what has come against our city. We've needed the loyalty and the help.
Commissioner Barnes?
Well, I know the savings is a good thing, and I'm, without more information, without really digging into each one of these policies, what's covered, what's not covered, and not having the time to do it, I know where these guys come from, and I'm not sure, well, I'm confident Florida League of Cities has some good stuff there. I've been around for 3 to 5 years watching what these guys covered and how they were there, and whether there's a change in what change comes up with 112 or not, we'll deal with that as a city. But I would support staying with what we have, so we don't get blindsided with something later on. If it's in the budget this year, fine. Start talking about this 6 months into next year, when we can see what each group covers. And maybe we'll see some lessons learned this year, but at least we know quite possibly Florida League of Cities will be there next year too.
This is a 2-year contract.
I'm sorry?
This is a 2-year contract. So the RFP went out for 2 years
Yeah,
of
but I
services.
haven't read it, and I'm not sure our attorneys read it to give us their staff report on what they think is good. So I'm comfortable staying with what we have.
Vice Mayor Wilson, then we'll come back to you. Commissioner Guest.
Okay, me,
Yeah.
you know, I think we've gotten, I think things have smoothed out and gotten a lot better, from the different types of liabilities that we've been facing. And, you know, I'm okay with going with the Florida League, at this point. I know the money's there to budget for the higher one, but I don't know that you necessarily just go out and get the higher one just because the money's budgeted for it. And I'm right now, I would feel comfortable with Florida League of Cities because I think we are doing better, and I would expect us to continue to do better.
Commissioner Guest.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to ask, we're doing better based on what? It depends on what's coming on the horizons. My question is, did I understand that Brown & Brown had been covering this city for 17 years? Is that correct? And I have a question for them. May I ask it? What I'd like to know is, with the increase of lawsuits against our city over the last 17 years, has it always been like this, or when did this occur? When did this start?
5 years ago.
Okay. With that 5 years ago, I'd like to just mention that's when we've had our change of governance. So I think we're still working out the ins and outs of change in governance, and we need to still look at the cause as well as the effect. And I want to thank you for taking care of our city.
Happy to do it.
But I think there's a parallel here, and it just needs to be looked at, just so that we're diligent about policy and that things are working well. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Bonas.
If we went with a lower insurance, the lower cost, and there's roughly $70,000 savings that's in the budget, what would we do with that money? Would we keep it in contingency for lawsuits, or would we reduce the millage?
Money in contingency for lawsuits in the legal section.
So if this commission votes to go with the lower one, there's a savings there, which we can.
Well, some of the savings I think was for ironing out some of the union contracts and stuff.
But to answer your question,
we could decide
the majority of would go into contingency, or you could reduce the tax rate if you wanted to. I'd have to work out how much what that was. I think there's
roughly
$60,000
to $70,000.
Yeah.
Tough decision, guys. But I think we stay. I'm of the opinion stay with what we have, but not because it's in the budget and we've budgeted it, but because of the coverage has been good and it's consistent and we know what we've gotten and we know how to deal with it. But I won't make a motion.
Vice Mayor Willow.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make a motion to award the bid for property and liability insurance for fiscal year 2014-15 to the Florida League of Cities.
I'll make a second. I want to ask some questions.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I got a question. I'm just curious on this Florida League in here, and I get the deal. Is this a standard type of deal across all the other cities? Is this the same type of coverage, which is same percentages and everything, and so it's a standard policy with all of them? And the sunshine violations talks about lawsuits against the city for breaching the sunshine law and so forth. And that sounds like a stupid question. I apologize. that's just basically when we're, give me an example specifically where that would,
Legal costs that you would incur defending sunshine allegations
okay.
outside the sunshine would not be covered by our other coverage that covers ethics proceedings and EEOC and other administrative type of legal costs.
What's the percentage would you know as far as claims that are strictly sunshine as opposed to other? And I guess I'm trying to find out exactly when you talk about sunshine as opposed to other ethical things that aren't, like we don't supply minutes and they sue us because we didn't do the minutes on time, or they do public records and we don't provide. That's not sunshine.
Correct.
Sunshine is things basically done
There's
against the law.
Allegations of not responding to public records.
That's not
laws.
this. This
That would be
doesn't.
a different thing, though. They've had both types here, right?
No, but I'm just saying that's not. I'm just looking at the different coverages. Is what I'm saying. That's not within sunshine. Is what I'm saying. Because you're saying you don't cover the sunshine. So what I'm trying to do is get the scope of cases in a way that you would sit there and cover. Whereas I understand you don't have it. The total scope of those maybe isn't as large as what we're thinking. I'm rambling.
Well,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just.
The only reason, I'm just privy to know the lawsuits that you've had. Sunshine's a really small part of it. We have several claims where somebody alleged public records, sunshine violations, injunctive relief all in the same time. The distinction is any civil lawsuit alleging any of these things. Typically, and these are becoming more and more popular, there's a group called Citizens for Sunshine, and they're going up and down. I can tell you I handled the City of Venice claim that was $700,000 in defense cost for their claim. City of Sarasota just had a large one. It's just the wave. These attorneys know that they can file these claims, public records violations, injunctive relief, non-monetary, and they're trying to get plaintiff attorney's fees. And what costs you the most are the defense of those. There's no deductible. You mentioned there's no deductible for our cost to defend the city against these. So when you say sunshine, it's the whole big gamut of injunctive relief, non-monetary claims, civil proceedings, sunshine violations. Generally, every claim that I'm aware that you've had people have alleged multiple infractions. Then it's the allegation. It doesn't matter whether you've done it or not.
Right.
You have to defend yourself.
Well, let me ask on this one there. What do the other cities do for that? Do you buy a separate policy?
Hire their own attorneys and use their reserve fund.
Do you buy a separate policy?
I'm not aware of a separate policy you can buy just for sunshine.
Right. And under 112, Chapter 112, things have changed. Gifts now fall under the sunshine where it didn't before. So if you take a gift for your vote, then that is now considered sunshine, because the sunshine now goes into more of a legal, criminal aspect of it, as that group got the law changed.
You looked at the numbers, Jennifer? Where's the biggest hit?
The biggest hit is in officers and directors.
Biggest, I didn't hear you. Say it again.
Speak up, I can't.
The officers and directors, basically, the biggest difference is you all, that insurance.
What do you mean by that? Oh, you mean as far as cost?
Mm-hmm.
I see. So Brown & Brown is charging us, I say, $119,000 for that coverage, and Florida League is charging us $27,000 for that coverage.
And then they're actually adding on additional coverage that'll go back to 10/1 of 2010. So any lawsuits that have not been filed back to that will be picked up by that other insurance.
By Florida League.
Is that correct?
Retroactive to 10/1/2010, is that what you're talking about?
That's correct, except for these sunshine issues.
Right.
This will sound somewhat ridiculous, I know, but we want to, so the difference is we want to make sure that we pay $70,000 more to protect us. In essence, is what we're saying.
Well,
We want to protect us, because we're the ones who would commit the sunshine, is all I'm trying to get at. So I can spend $70,000 more of the public's money to make sure that if I screw up and I get sued, they'll pay for it.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
if I might, just for that, if we're talking public records and things too, that's probably more likely to be your employees than commissioners. It could certainly be an issue for commissioners if they made a public records request and you withheld or you didn't timely respond, but chances are, if there's a public records problem, it's from an employee, because that's who most people are going to be making their public records requests to.
And that goes within the sunshine. That falls underneath sunshine, not something, that was I asked earlier.
Well,
Failure to
my
produce.
understanding, I have not read these policies, is that they do not cover public records litigation either, in addition to sunshine, is what seems to be presented here tonight. And I haven't read the policy, so I don't have an opinion to give you tonight on this, but.
The realm that we're in here is the realm of non-monetary allegations that don't involve damages, monetary damages.
And usually in public records, you're not seeking damages, you're seeking the record, and you can get attorney's fees as a plaintiff, but you're not entitled to other damages. So that would be more of an injunctive type case, which they would not cover. And then as a city, you would be responsible for your own attorney's fees and the attorney's fees of the plaintiff should they win. Not you individually, but the city, yes.
And then, I mean, it doesn't take long for that difference to be eaten up and, you know.
I mean, it depends on the case. Some public records cases can be very minor and they can settle for a few $1,000s in attorney's fees because you give them the record and that's the end.
We haven't
Just
been
like
fortunate.
they were just saying that in the City of Venice case, now clearly that was a monster case that you do not see, and I believe if not the highest, one of the highest, and but it involved multiple law firms and it was over $700,000 in attorney's fees to the plaintiff's attorneys. That did not include the defense cost. But I mean, those cases aren't typical, but
They're out there.
but there is that potential.
I think, though, I could be wrong, I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, but I think their coverage is limited to $100,000 a year. So you're paying $70,000 to get $100,000 of coverage. That doesn't.
The city has used it pretty much every year.
I'm hoping you won't anymore.
That was. Okay.
Tough decision. Tough decision.
Mayor, I would like to, well, depending how it goes, I guess, but I would like to clarify whether the city is intending to accept a change in the bid price at this point after a formal bid process.
No, we can't.
No.
Okay,
No,
well,
no,
then that
not anymore.
12,000 offer is not
Not on-
valid.
Right.
Okay.
What's on the floor? Okay. It's a hard one here. Anyone from the public want to speak on this Now help us out here. Yes, sir. Come on.
Mr. Mayor, my name is Mike Kearney, and this is a tough one. But I think that the city, under our present city manager and under our present commission and the work that's been done here in the last several years, the act's been cleaned up a lot. And so on the sunshine matter, that falls, I mean, several of us, anybody who's on any of your committees or, you know, plan board or anybody, we're all under the rules of the sunshine law. And it's up to just the city to make sure that we know what we're doing and that we've attended the proper classes. But if we're confident that we've done a good job, which I think we have, well, then you can consider putting that $70 aside, the $70,000 aside just in case, and see how the year goes. If we think we got another risky year, then you probably need to go with what you got. So it's just a matter of where we think we're going to be for this year. And I think we've done a pretty good job in our city of getting these silly matters under control. Well, they weren't silly, they cost a lot of money. But thank you.
Anyone else?
I will just say, while we're on the subject of public records and doing a better job, your city attorney's office is in the process right now of revamping your public records policy with Jenny, and we would like, I was going to mention it later, but we would like to offer training hopefully sometime this fall for your employees on the new policy we'd be proposing.
So, anything out there pending right now?
Not that's under insurance. We have the issue with the agreement with the developer and two, but that's strictly in-house, and that's not.
That is, but nothing has been filed, but the matter with former Chief Hawley is still out there and under insurance coverage.
What about that other guy that said he, what was it?
It had to do with your former
Pritchard?
chief.
Pritchard?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, yes. I was going to update you on that later, too. Pritchard is still out there under insurance.
And that's under Brown and Brown right now, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
And Holly's not under anything right now.
No, Holly is under we have insurance attorneys.
Yeah, but he hasn't really filed.
No, nothing's filed, but that's still being covered under your insurance policy. The insurance company has provided outside attorneys to handle that matter.
But if there was a settlement, it might be with Brown and Brown.
It would be.
Okay.
And so how does that affect us if we don't renew insurance?
You would still be covered under that period of time in which those actions happened.
So in other words, they can jump ship.
Right.
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 On those incidents.
Yes.
Okay.
I just want to say something, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it bothers me that we're making this decision tonight, and like your office hasn't had the time to look at everything. I don't understand why that would happen, why it wasn't given to you ahead of time. And I know there's a lot to deal with, but I just wish you had been given the opportunity to review everything so that you knew exactly what we're talking about, and it's not just been, the last couple of days when it was released in our packet.
I guess this was a staff matter, wasn't it? Yes, okay. Commissioner Barnes?
I think that in my mind, what's happened is Brown and Brown was our insurance. They were going to be our insurance, and we didn't anticipate Florida League of Cities getting involved in this. When is it we found out they would be involved? How long ago?
But, yeah.
And we got bids, these bids came in, when were they closed?
August the 14th, I believe, or the 18th.
August 14th, but we don't have time to really dig into it now.
18th.
I'm still comfortable staying with Brown and Brown and look at Florida League of Cities next year, or maybe 3 people or 4 people next year.
2 years.
2 years.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. What was the motion on the floor, please? Read it further. Okay. So at this time, all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion carries 3-2. All right, moving right on to item number 3. Consider approving the 2013 federal funding sub-grant agreement. If that's you, Mr. City Manager?
Oh, it's the water line replacement. This is just a requirement. We need to execute the agreement. This is one of those requirements with the water grant.
Okay.
There will be many of these. I think we have to do the Bacon Act, and we'll continue to do that.
Commissioner Will, Vice Mayor Will?
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. In reading through this, the project from the time, I guess this is signed, this agreement is signed, as I read it, the project has to be completed within 2 years.
That is correct.
And we feel very comfortable that the bidding will go out and the construction and all that will be able to be completed in 2 years.
Right, the engineers will go out for the bids.
Okay.
The money will be allocated, well, it was a month ago, so in about 5 months. So the money will be there to start the project to go out for bids in about 5 months.
Okay. Why 5 months?
It's how long the CDB grant process takes before they award the money.
Oh, okay.
It's sort of like a rural development agency in our, you know, that took 5 years.
And there's a lot of records that have been reports that
Yeah.
have to be done and kept up in under this. Is someone been responsible for keeping all those records?
Fox does that.
Fox does it?
Right.
Even the accounting records and that type of thing?
All of it.
Okay.
He is the administrator of the grant.
Okay. I can get to it, page 60, page on my tablet here. It talks about special conditions. Number 2, under special conditions, it says provide an official letter of documentation confirming that all City of High Springs funding for the water line extension project for over-income households will not be paid for with CDBG funding. Do we have any in that area?
No, we do not.
Okay.
In fact, they did a survey of the whole area, and majority of the housing is in low to low income. There is no high income over there.
Okay. Then, have we sent anyone to training on this? Because it says the implementation training for fiscal year 2013 grant recipients is scheduled to be held in Ocala from August 19th through the 21st.
Right, and Fox goes to all the training.
Okay, so that's fine. Okay, those are my questions.
Should be impressed I know the answer. Are you not? Thank you.
Okay. Another question? Yes.
I have a question first of the attorney, may I ask? I'd like to know if you've read and reviewed this information.
Our office did.
And Is it any different than former grants in the past that we've signed on with?
No, they're all a little, each agency has different things that they require, but this is a very standard agreement for this type of a grant.
You've had CDB grants in the past.
I know. Is there any changes between the ones in the past and now?
Well, minor that Congress requires, they take out something or put something in, and there's a whole bureaucracy there that fiddles with them, but basically it's the same kind of.
Is there anything specifically that you're speaking of that's been changed?
No, I haven't seen anything that I could really put my finger on.
Okay.
They may have changed the wording a little bit. But.
Well, I've noticed that some of them have changed drastically. They're not the same as they were, and that was my concern.
Right.
And actually it takes more than just a couple of days to review and compare.
Understand. I sat down with Fox. We went over this.
Oh, I understand that.
And so
I don't question that at all.
It's basically.
My concern is the ramifications of those changes and how it impacts our area and our home and the homeowner.
I'll make a motion, we pass fiscal year 2013 federally funded sub-grant agreement. I want to make sure as I say that, if we don't pass it, then you lose the grant. So, it's a perfunctory thing.
Right. You also need to authorize
the city.
Appropriate parties to sign off from the city.
So, let's agree with it and then authorize the appropriate party to sign off on it. That'd be you.
Y'all got to increase my pay.
Per signature.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Anyone from the audience? Okay. And then all in favor, can I saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay?
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. Okay, move to item number 6. Consider ordinance 2014-03.
Mr. Mayor, this is ordinance 2014-03, an ordinance of the City of High Springs, Florida pertaining to property maintenance and neighborhood preservation in Chapter 18 of the High Springs City Code by adding Section 18.2 regarding registration of real property mortgages in default or foreclosure, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance 2014-03 upon first reading.
Commissioner Michelle, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Ms. Noel.
Actually, I'm going to pass out an article that was in the paper today. I think there's an issue. This is evidently Newberry. City of Newberry has done this, and it's about they're considering a property management company handling this for them. I had brought this up to the commission in 2012, I believe, and at that time there was questions about whether or not who would handle it, and whether or not it was worth the money that you would get from it, because we at that time we would need to have hired a codes enforcement inspector. Newberry seems to be in that same situation, and I didn't put this on here on this agenda for discussion. I was just researching it and recalled that I put it on there before I had brought it up before. But according to the newspaper article, anyway, there are management companies that do that for and does the research for you, and that was one of the issues that was or one of the problems or one of the issues that commissioners brought up on that as to who would take the time to do that. And at least according to the newspaper article, the management company, and I think we had someone actually come and do a presentation before us on that at the time. Whatever you charge a certain amount of money, they get their piece, and then if you charge, if it's $200, they get $100, and you get $100, whatever you want to do for it. But they do all the researching and that type of thing. I guess this has been put on here because we do have a number of abandoned properties that are not being taken care of.
Yes, and it's something that some of the, like you said, Newberry was interested in, so we thought we'd bring it to your attention in case you were. And Newberry has not passed it yet. They did pass upon first reading, and they do not have a director of code enforcement in Newberry. So their ordinance is slightly different than yours. Instead of saying director of code enforcement, theirs says city manager or his or her designee. And that's how they do it. And should you decide to pass this, the next step, then you could take it out for bid, because there are several of these companies that would do this for you, and you could have them all come in and give you a presentation and decide between them that that's how you wanted, who you wanted to handle that for you.
I do have a couple other questions on it, and that basically in this on page, there's something that's referred to as a board of adjustment, and I don't know what that, and maybe that's just specific to Newberry, but in this, on page 88, actually, it talks about number D, the appeals on the interpretation will be reviewed by the board of adjustment. I don't know what that is.
Well, and that should be your code enforcement.
That would be
yeah.
code enforcement.
Right.
Board, okay.
Right.
And then the other question I had was on page, it's on page 3 of this document, number 3, and it also refers to as, refers to the Director of Development and Sustainability. I have no idea who that is.
That one.
Because they also refers to Director of Codes Enforcement, so doesn't seem to be the same individual. So.
Right. I think we would still change that
We'd have to
to
figure out what
code
that is.
enforcement. Right.
If it were to pass.
I think otherwise that would be like if you had a planner.
Maybe.
Usually, like the planner would do economic. So yeah, if you're interested, we would change that 3 to Director of Code Enforcement. Or if you wanted to change everything, the city manager or his or her designee.
I'm about to tell the council I'm going to make some changes. So it would affect this.
Okay. I'm going to handle them first. Commissioner Gesher.
Thank you, Mayor Williams. I have my questions for the city manager. How many homes do we have that are in foreclosure in our city?
I've accounted over in the one area about 45.
What's the one area?
One area is the southeast portion of the town. There are counting trailers, counting abandoned buildings. There are about 45 in that entire area. I haven't seen too many of them. There are a couple of them in other parts of town, but we need to take some action as far as cleaning them up and revitalizing that area. I'm going to talk to the commission on that too when it's my turn.
Mayor?
Yes.
How does this differ from the gentleman that came and gave the presentation about registering, doing everything, notifying the banks, and didn't cost us a dime? They did everything. How is this different than us simply contracting with a company, for example, the ones that to do this?
This is just the first step. This ordinance puts it in place so that you can do this, so that you would be creating a registry, and then you would be contracting with one of those firms to manage it for you. You still wouldn't be paying for it. You would still be receiving part of the money of the registry.
Right. We got money from it. It didn't cost us. They
Right.
took their fee out, and it didn't cost us anything. We actually got some money. So
Right. This is what this is. This is setting the framework for you to be able to do that if you want. So that's what I'm saying. You would pass this ordinance giving the city the power to do that, and then you would take it out for bid amongst the group that came last year and gave you a
Right.
presentation. There's several companies out there that do similar things.
doesn't obligate us. It's just as a step to put in a process if we choose to do that.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make the difference between the two. Thank you.
Right. And so you could choose to make this registry yourself, but there's companies out there that will do it that doesn't
Right.
cost you money, that would,
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
In passing this, do we have to make changes to the land development code to make it all coherent? I mean, will there be a new section of code enforcement or responsibilities or hiring another person?
No. I have some proposed changes, but I'll talk about that.
I'm sure you do.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Commissioner Bonas?
Our current enforcing official is, it says in section 3839, city manager or an official designated by the city manager shall be the enforcing officer. So it sounds like it's similar to what you have in Newberry, or
Right, just in Newberry, there's no reference to code enforcement.
But we do have it in ours,
Right.
so it does talk about it. So it's out there. But, you know, this is the inner workings of getting this done, I think are going to be difficult, but it has to be done, I think. I think we have to start deciding how to deal with these vacant houses. I think whether we get a management company that's like a real estate property management company, or these companies that have come to us, the good news is they'll be dealing with that. But it's not going to be an easy process to determine who actually owns the property until a foreclosure is filed. You don't know, you can't find out. It's impossible. If you were to see an abandoned building and pull up the property record and see who owns it, Deutsche Bank, they don't. Somebody else does. And so until it goes to foreclosure, we don't know. But once it's gone to foreclosure, I think at that point, getting somebody, so what we got to do is get somebody, a management company that goes to them, tells them, here's what you have to do to maintain this property. And so that's what we're trying to look at, folks. Who maintains the property, at least keeps it clean from burning down, that type of thing. So we also know who to file a code complaint with. And I think it's a good thing. How it ultimately works, it doesn't seem like it's going to cost us any money, but we'll find out. So I support it.
I also think that we owe it to the citizens that live in those communities that are having to see this every day and face it every day, going down, down their neighborhood street and seeing this abandoned piece of property that's, deteriorating and it's, the windows are out and, all those different things that happen to those homes that have been abandoned or foreclosed on. So that's why I would really support it.
Commissioner Jameson?
No, I was just saying, make a motion to pass ordinance 2014-03 on first reading.
I'll second that.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions? Anyone from the audience? Hearing none, all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry.
Keep us straight.
Vice Mayor Weller,
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes,
Yes.
Commissioner Kester,
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. I'm trying to get y'all out of here before 9 o'clock.
Let's go.
Okay.
You better do some quick talking.
All right, discuss and consider options for the traffic control downtown. Thank you, Commissioner Barnes.
I was again downtown the other day and saw how, and it is sporadic, what I'm going to say, how the traffic backs up almost all the way to Bev's Burger. But then the next day it wasn't that bad. And so I know we're working with the state about handicap parking.
Yes, we are.
Downtown. So my suggestion is maybe we can talk to them while you're talking to that issue about a change of, and I saw this somewhere else and that's why it came to my attention. What seems to happen there is everybody wants to make a left turn and they're all backed up. And then so at the 2 blocks down the road, everybody starts making a left turn by Plantation Oaks. And I don't know if we're ticketing them for it or if we're stopping them. I don't know if it's illegal to do that, but I think it creates a danger of people now speeding to get over there. And then they create another problem at the railroad tracks. where they try and come out. So the solution may be a working of the lights to make a left turn arrow for a period of time. Well, let's say traffic only going this way for 30 seconds with a left turn light.
Right.
And then I've seen where the traffic then goes this way with their own light. There's got to be a way we deal with that, possibly, and with a left turn light there.
Or a turning lane. See, I've always thought that a turning lane needed to be there.
Or a turning lane, but I don't know, we talked about that so many times over the years.
I know, because that's what backs it up.
And
Somebody wants to make a left-hand turn.
Yeah, and every time we talked about that in the past, that I can remember maybe 7, 8 years ago talking about it, they went crazy and said, we're not gonna do that. But if they'll consider it again, fine, but I don't think they will. But I think a solution could be a left turn light.
Right.
And then
With a lane.
with a lane, if you can get the lane.
I'll
But
try.
what's her name, Brandy somebody other they're working with on this handicap. So if you can see if there's an option for them to do a study on a left turn light and lane, then I think that's an option there. I don't think somebody suggested to me, well, make a bypass. Well, I think it gets too complicated. But the light thing could work. Sure. Because somewhere I just saw that recently. I mean, I think it maybe was down there in Hollywood, where it was everybody got left turn, left turn, left turn, left turn, straight, left turn, and then that traffic light stopped, and they had a short light going this way, and then their short lights going this way, and then that longer light again, left turn, straight. So I think we need to start looking at that, because while the one day it was really bad, again, the next day it wasn't. So if you can talk to her when you're talking about handicap, that's my comment. I don't know if the other commissioners feel the same way, but that's why I put it on there.
That's a good idea to explore.
And
No
and
reason
they
not
need
to.
to also do a traffic study on the number of cars and vehicles. It really has picked up in the last couple of years between trucks and cars.
It has, and it's not going to get any better, and we know we're not going to. We've gone down, and I'm sorry to keep talking about this, Mayor, but we've gone down the road to bypasses every 3 years, and I think we're stuck with that unless you put that. That was the other one. Somebody said put a bridge. A bridge. Yeah.
No,
There you go.
But you do have somewhat of a bypass, because they go right by my house, and there is a steady flow of vehicles.
They
and
find a way.
somebody's husband also uses that as a bypass.
Really?
I'm not
Nobody
gonna
up here.
I'm not going to mention anybody.
Are you pointing fingers?
So
But
I'll table the bridge for 5 years. Just leave the look at arrows.
Okay, any other discussion on that one? Yeah, that having a problem for several years now. Can you do?
It has been studied, but it's time to restudy because we're growing.
Yeah, because just about every household have now at least 2 cars or more if they got kids in the house. So everybody's is driving. It's amazing. I went to a place, a meeting in the summer. I seen all these cars out here. I said, oh, it's going to be a full room. You get there, everybody in separate cars.
Yep.
What can we do? Okay, moving on to item number 8. Are you finished?
Yes.
Okay, discuss setting a workshop to IT needs and communication with the citizens. I had this put on here. I think it's time for us to really start thinking serious about the future in IT and technology. I'm not going to say it's coming. It's here. It's here. And I don't think it's going backwards any longer. So I really think we need to really sit down and have a discussion about IT and definitely about communicating with citizens. So basically I put on here tonight for us to set up a workshop to do so. And I know you got some questions you want to talk about the clouds and whatever they was
Right,
talking
yeah,
about.
you know, because when we were attending the conference, the Florida League of Cities, a lot of it, most of it dealt with technology. And so there were a lot of things that were brought out that I think we could do easily. So I just think we need to explore all of that, you know, that type of thing. And so I think a workshop would be great.
Yeah, so we can schedule it. That would be great if we can schedule that. Is that fine with the commissioners?
I think
Yes,
I
Commissioner
think
Bond.
I think it's a good idea. I think we brought it up a year or so ago, and I've put it on the budget, and I don't even I could look and see if that's still in there, that position. Maybe with the money we've now voted to save on insurance, we could look at that IT work, somebody to help upstairs with the computers or the websites. Something I'll talk about again in commissioner comments is updating that stuff and getting the proper information out there. I think as we go ahead with doing things, getting the information out quickly and accurately is going to be just as important as having the avenues to get it out. Now we've got, the fire department has that notice that sends something out where they can send us a message on our phones. Yes. We're using that quite well when it's there. But if we don't use it properly, it's pointless. So yeah, a workshop to do that, to look at it, come up with plans that move us to the 21st century and beyond, is going to be very important. I learned a lot more than I could even absorb at the conference. That was some of the newest stuff out there.
True. And then everything out there we can't use, we have to make those plans, that stuff that will fit High Springs, that will work for High Springs. So I think that's why we need to sit down and discuss it. And definitely communication with our citizens, because there's so much out there now to communicate with people. And how many have smartphones, cell phones? Huh? Almost everybody, huh? So you still got dumb phones?
How many got a can with a string?
I don't have one.
Yeah. No. It's amazing though that percentage-wise, the amount of people have technology these days with the smartphones and tablets and whatever. It's come to the point where house phones gonna be non-existent. They're gone. And everybody gonna have, because if I can get rid of mine, the only reason I keep my phone is because I'm a pastor. If I wasn't a pastor, I wouldn't have a house phone. Nobody never called it. But so if we can set that up, that'd be great, Jenny. She in La La Land over there?
All right.
If you can set that up for, that'd be great. The workshop. So I was trying to get you out here 9 o'clock before you go and go to bed, but okay. At this time, there's city attorney report and updates.
Okay, I'm gonna go fast. I already started telling you about the public records. It has been a big issue, not just in our area, but across the state. The city of Alachua has taken great strides to really give training to their employees and update their policies. So I feel like I'm getting close to where I'm happy with it, and so we're hoping to present that to you all soon, and then offer a workshop for you all, for the employees, for anyone in the public who wants to come and learn about public records. I did go to the Pritchard hearing, like I told you about last time. At that hearing, Mr. Pritchard, the federal judge allowed him more time to find an attorney, and they're tentatively scheduling an evidentiary hearing in that matter in about 90 days.
So his old attorney's gone?
His old attorney is out.
And that was because he didn't like the settlement? Something like that?
Well, he is saying that he did not give his attorney authority to settle with the city and Mr. Troiano. So that's what the issue is. He is asking the judge to reopen the case.
With a new attorney.
With a new attorney, and so the issue at the evidentiary hearing will be whether or not his attorney had authority to settle the case.
And not to, and I don't think if I'm going to ask a wrong question, tell me stop. But if that doesn't happen, then they either settle with the old settlement or there's no settlement, maybe, or he can keep appealing forever.
You mean if the judge decided that his attorney did not have authority
If
to
he
settle?
gets a new attorney and the judge decides his attorney had the authority to settle,
Then the case would be over.
the case would be over.
Right, because the city and Mr. Toriano have filed a motion to enforce the settlement.
Okay.
So that's what would happen. At the next meeting, we'll have a presentation on the developer agreements that we've been updating you on, and we have invited the representatives from those organizations to come and hope to have a proposal for you that night. We had Mr. Booth and I had PBA negotiations this morning. We were very happy with how they went. And we would like to have an executive session with the commission on September 11th at 5:30, which would be right before our regular commission meeting. We want to go through with you the proposed agreement and let you have any questions. And we're hoping that we can get everything ratified before the new budget year. And those are my updates.
Okay.
Any questions for the attorney? Okay, city manager?
Okay, since the attorney took some of my thunder, I will talk about code enforcement. I would like to change the method that we do code enforcement. And we currently have a part-time individual. I want to move that to the police department. I've negotiated with them, and they're willing to do that portion. There is a portion not being done that I want to initiate, and that is, and we somewhat talked about it, it's through myself and the Code Enforcement Board to start the condemnation, and of course the attorneys are a big part of that, start the condemnation process for many of these homes that are a hazard. In that, a lot of the area over there is covered by a PUD that was done a number of years ago that really is not in effect. It wasn't done properly and it never was filed. What I'd like to do is part of that area is start the process to create a redevelopment area. It is not the same as a CRA, but it has some value, and again, this would create a new board. You would have another function to do, but it comes with some funding, and then part of that, the tax that a CRA would have, you would have the same thing in a redevelopment agency that you could then develop that particular area. The PUD contains areas that PUDs don't, and it really never went forward. The property, I guess, was deeded over. I'm not looking at that property. I'm looking at other properties in other areas, basically. It may encompass a little bit of the Douglas PUD, but basically there's enough areas that it wouldn't. Not an easy process, takes time, but you have to start somewhere, and I think it's a good time to start that process now. It would be good for the neighborhood, good for the community, and it would put it on a positive footing.
Mr. Manager, on the issue of changing, of moving codes enforcement over into the police department?
Yes.
Would our current codes enforcement officer still be doing the codes enforcement? Or are
No.
you saying police officers are going to do code enforcement?
Yes. I would not have them do the paperwork such as the condemnation or any of that. In many of the things that you have in the ordinance as far as having a company manage that area would fall with would fall in my privy, I guess, or the city manager's privy. I don't want to go into too much detail why I would like to make changes, but I think we've all received a number of calls, and
I guess my concern, I guess maybe we can talk more about it, but down the road, because, I mean, it may be an old, maybe it's done in other places. I've just never heard of the police department employees being responsible for doing code enforcement. So I'm not sure how that would work along with all their other duties.
I understand, and basically, you know, they would cite an individual more on using the county civil tickets and simply write them up. It would probably cause me to drive around a little bit more and to identify some areas. But it's but I've had a number of people from Code Enforcement Board also approach me that we need to make a change.
Mayor?
Mr. Guest.
Thank you. I just have a question for the city manager. In the past, we've used the fire department for codes violations. Why not them? They're on call by emergency. The police are 24/7 working.
Right.
Wouldn't it be better
Could do that too.
that's what we've done in the past. I think in 2000, and several years, I've noticed what they've done. So I'd rather consider that than law enforcement at this point. That's just, and actually, I would like to see a presentation of what you're talking about, what it looks like. Kind of like we've got a couple of areas in conjunction with another board for a certain area because they have needs. It's all ties in, and also with the foreclosure with the homes. I'd like to see, is this the same area or is it multiple areas with the same problems in the city? It might be good to have a workshop and really look at this.
I'll do by the 11th. I'll have identified a number and take pictures of them and talk about them. The attorney can then write up a short paper on what it takes to condemn and go through that process.
We see a lot of things kind of surfacing.
I'll talk with the fire department and see if they would be willing to go out and do code enforcement for us. You know, personally, I think code enforcement is all employees' job. It's just one individual's to write the tickets. Everybody ought to be observing, you know, bad things. But you know, I actually have a Florida certification, and I got that many years ago, but they don't require certification anymore. They still give the training. There are 3 levels, and I took level 1, which was kind of a weak introductory thing. So, but there are specific things that you do and don't do in code enforcement.
Thank you.
But we'll do a report.
It'd be helpful.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Let me see, the other things we're going to talk about, I'd like to talk about the ethics law, chapter 112. It requires now a 4-hour class, and you have to certify that 4 hours you've taken on the same financial form that you turn in every year to the Board of Elections. And it now has a bunch of teeth. The only problem I have with the whole thing is the legislature opted out.
Of course, they always do.
It's like, are you kidding me? But anyway, but we, the school board and the counties are all under this new law that is somewhat specific. The training itself requires 1 hour on, ethics, 1 hour on, it's specific on what the training is. My recommendation is the league wants to put the training out at $35 a person. I think it would be cheaper and easier for us to get all our boards. So it requires all our boards to go through this and have it at one time, have an open meeting, but have all the boards here, and then have our attorneys then give a class on the 4-hour class, and everybody is covered.
And we can certainly do that. This past year, the county did this, and they invited us all. So there's also, I mean, we're more than happy to put on a workshop here, but that's something we could also work with the county, because this year they invited all of the cities.
The city wasn't required to attend.
The city was not required to attend.
Yeah, but the problem is we need all the boards, and it's easier to do it here at one time rather than have a few people miss it and then try to make it up in that. We just have a meeting with all the boards here and then have one class and go from there.
When does it go into effect?
January 1. Classes you've had in this year don't count.
You won't be here.
Yeah, maybe.
And that's it.
Okay. That's it?
That's it.
Any questions for
Took
the
my thunder.
city manager?
I'll address some things under mine.
Mr. Jameson?
That's 9, man.
Yeah, I know, man.
I'm trying to help you out.
Yeah. Commissioner Gaston?
I'm sorry, I'm not going to help. I have just a couple things that I need to ask. If I can find them, maybe I won't. I really would like if the city attorney would, since you're going back on the tax abatement, to look at the whole process. It seems to me, as I recall, that whole thing started, the business that was Plantation Oaks and the formation of this new resolution all hit about the same time, as far as it being approved and so forth and so on. They were new business to town. I really think with their expansion of the new building on land, that's what it was more for. And I really hope that you would look at that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We'll get a copy of the application and make sure that we have a thorough understanding before we're even talking to the county.
I appreciate it. Also, tonight was discussed about the fire department, the rescue, having a unit here. And as I recall, a year ago, it was brought to our attention, one of the problems we have with the unit inside the town, although there's two things about that. The light, how would that unit get through the intersection where it's so bogged down? So that's got to be resolved as well. The other thing is, I think it was very interesting, last June, this June, it was brought to our attention, our unit, instead of serving our area, was over in Gainesville more than it was here, which is the one concern I have had about transferring services to the county, that because we're still remote, we're out of this portion of the county, that's going to continue to happen. And that's kind of my resistance, because we're not wall-to-wall people in our county like we are in Dade or Jacksonville or Tampa or Orlando. And with services going to the center, here we are, and especially with law enforcement. The other thing that was brought to my attention this week is the closing of road, the 13th Street Northwest. In doing so, one of the families, it's the Peacock family, was not notified. And I know I hear at different times, well, it's not required by law. Well, I would have hoped we would have contacted them. We didn't. And it isn't just with this, it's with other issues too. I mean, even if something's not required by law, it's the right thing to do. We need to do it, and I hope I don't know what the recourse is, but
As soon as he calls me, I'll go out there. We still have the problem, there's a house across the street. I mean, in the middle of the street.
Right in the road.
Right in the road. So, I'll go out there and see what his needs are and maybe get a right of way or something so he can use it. I would hope that the individual who owns it is in the military and I think a chaplain. So they would be willing to provide an easement for him to get to his property and that.
No,
But as soon as he calls me, I'll go out and we'll.
He told me he had an appointment set up with you already.
Next
He
week.
might, I don't know. So as soon as he does, we'll go out and take a look.
Okay, good. I appreciate that. And also my thoughts were the group home, you know, how that all got started and avoided. And I realized the ordinances that we have on Muni Code, we're going to get them changed and come October, and that's been a long process. But, you know, it makes it complicated for people when they're trying to decide what's required. I have a little bit of concern with the Land Development Code and Comp Plan. They were just paid for, and I think 2010, 2011 were approved, so I'm not sure exactly why we're revamping everything, but I know our ordinances on the books, I couldn't tell whether they do match or don't match, but that needs to be looked at. And also there was, brought to my attention that there has been a grinder pump in phase 1 hardwired into the meter and not into the box. It caused a problem, so I don't know.
Is this has to do with the hardware store?
The Priest Theater.
The Priest Theater,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, so
we use certified electricians, and we're certainly looking into that.
I realize that. I guess my thought was, you know, we need to really investigate to see if that's part of the problem, because that is a huge problem. I knew I was told, or I thought I was, that it had been hardwired into their meter, into their box, is why we can't use generators if the power goes out. But this thing, if they're hardwired into the meters, I find it fascinating why it wasn't caught.
I agree.
Yeah, we need to look at that. That's a fire hazard. Thank you.
Commissioner Bonds?
Yeah, the Peacock thing, he was supposed to call you,
Okay.
so.
And he may have set up an appointment.
Yeah, he said he had already had an appointment set up.
So, because I told him, he had called me and I said, talk to Ed and see what options we have. But I remember when we went through that, we had all looked at it and there was nothing on the books that said there was any easement there.
That's right.
But apparently it's an old family gate that they used to
We'll
use.
look at it, sure.
So you'll deal with that. My understanding is from talking to Karen at the Irish Water Dogs at the museum, using it for Halloween is a done deal.
Well, what happened with because they came here and made the presentation, went over there, they rented, because they charge, and so they rent it. They have $1 million policy, and of course I have a young man, Robert, who is sort of overlooking that whole function. I'm not sure that we didn't do any agreement.
So-
All they did was rent.
So there's a rental form already done though and approved by you?
Well,
Yet?
They rent it downstairs and they just reserve it.
Okay, but they have to, my concern is, and I talked to Bruce briefly about this, any fire hazards or inspections or
certainly
anything,
inspect all that.
because we used to say on an agreement, the fire department's got to sign off and the police department's got to sign off.
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't know if that comes in front of the commission. As a special event permit, that should be coming in front of the commission, not just signed off on without coming in front of the commission.
I don't think they filled anything out yet. They haven't filled anything out.
Well,
so there's
let me
nothing.
just say this then. As of today, on Facebook, they say they're over there. October 27th, 28th, 30th. It's out there that's where the event's going to be.
They may have gotten the cart a little before the horse.
Yeah, well, we've seen that happen before. So Facebook has it. They're going around telling everybody they got a contract and it's a done deal. They'll be over there. Good thing, I think, for the community, but I'm concerned about that building.
Sure.
So maybe keep us informed on that.
I will.
I just found out this week that in Weston Oaks, there's a builder there called Duration Builders. 3 lots putting up houses. That guy's involved, that place will grow out in a year. He goes around and buys lots and builds houses and builds really good homes. And wherever he's touched, it's turned into gold. And I can tell you, Weston Oaks will be growing if he keeps doing what he's doing all over this county. So that's going to be a good thing. Now, my side of the codes enforcement. On our website, I've got 7 complaints for code enforcement, mostly, and I pulled the last 30 days. I pulled them, and most of them are about trash or something in the yard. One of the people called me about this, and I looked at her complaint, and I went to the website, and our website still says appliances such as refrigerators, stoves, ranges, washers, dryers will be picked top, doesn't say up, picked top on the 1st and 3rd Friday of each month. That's what she believed was supposed to happen. So one, we've got a breakdown with trash, how to pick it up. Well, it doesn't say she's supposed to call them. They believe it was supposed to just be picked up. So one, we've got a problem with our pickup with trash, which we were supposed to get a letter sent out to all the people how to deal with it. So we need to fix the website, and we either need to get a letter out to everybody or stop writing these violations or trash problems until we do, as a city, what we're supposed to do. So then Bob Barnes does what he normally does. He digs into these things. I found out that we are serving them by certified mail or hand-delivered, so we're doing a good thing. The other good thing is Muni Codes is up and working.
Yes.
Our Muni Codes online, you can go there and pull up our codes and read them. So I pulled up our Muni Codes on what these violations refer to. There's a specific one on here that's checked and crossed and marked that says excessive growth or hazardous. You go to our Muni Codes and talk about hazardous land. You then read into the Muni Codes what it defines. And by the way, it refers to the wrong paragraph and chapter.
So the form is incorrect.
The form is incorrect. And I can tell the city manager what's wrong on the form.
Sure.
The next thing it's supposed to say is, when you read hazardous land citation, it's supposed to say they have 10 days, not less than 10 days, not more than 90 days to correct it. That's in our Muni Codes. Yet we wrote 7 of them that went out on August 11th and said you got to correct it by August 18th. That's 7 days. We didn't give them 10 days to correct it. It's a problem. So we're writing a bad one. The next thing that it also says, it says that if you check the box, that's hazardous land. And I'll read from our Muni Code. If hazardous lands are involved, a statement of the steps necessary to abate the condition creating the hazard and bring the land into compliance with this article. So they're supposed to get a letter along with this saying, here's what you got to do to fix it. They're not getting that. You know we got a problem over there. And my suggestion is, and I also got one more call, that he had a physical altercation with somebody and kicked him. I heard about that one too, just the other day.
I missed that one, but I was
Yeah, well, so you need to deal with that, but my suggestion is, don't be writing any more using these until we get it figured out, how the form is right, how we do it, how we give them 10 days, and how our trash system is fixed, so the trash picks up what they're getting written up for. They're getting written up for a dishwasher in the street. but the people expected trash to pick it up. And then there's also other rules I read in there, the length of the grass, if we're writing them up for bad grass, and are we writing up everybody? We got a problem, Ed. Just please, and I'm not sure that sending it to police is gonna fix it. Just do it right and do it equally all around, but we've got, I bet you if I went back for a year, all these would have problems, so. And all of you know, all of you have heard it. So just please fix it. I don't want any more calls on that. I'm done.
Yeah, just two things. I think you all received this from the Alachua League of Cities. There's going to be a candidate forum on September 15th from 6 to 8:30 p.m. in Archer at their Archer Community Center. The request by the Alachua League of Cities is for us to post this on our website, on a Facebook page, in any other places that we may have that we can advertise and let people know that there is this candidate forum that will be held on September 15th, and I think you all have this here to do that. And the other thing is, I know we've got 2 workshops scheduled. One on dispatch and one on the alcohol, but I am scheduled to be out of town on one of those nights, and the other night I've already had a commitment prior to it being set, so I won't be able to be there. Just want to make sure you knew that. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Got a couple of things here. One is we'll be celebrating Florida Government Week, which I think is a great thing. In some kind of way, as the city, we can kind of get involved with this and letting citizens know what's going on with the city government here would be great. Just I know it might be too late now, but it'd be nice if we could arrange some kind of mock commissioner meeting for the school to let the kids see how we work, and that's from October the 19th through the 25th. And I think Beth gone already, and maybe get something over to the library, letting them know about this celebrating Florida City Government Week. They can put brochures out or whatever, but I can handle that part. And maybe myself or you, Mr. Booth, can go to different groups here in town, senior citizens or whatever, just kind of let them know about city government and what it's really all about. But I sit down with you and see what we can do to make this aware to all the citizens in High Springs. Also, they have invited me as the mayor to a special meeting at Santa Fe Community College. I've been invited by Dr. Sesser for a special, what do you say? There will be a very special announcement to the community that will have national importance. So I just want to let y'all know I'll be attending that meeting, and that'll be September the 4th at 10:30 a.m. at the Santa Fe College Fine Arts Hall. And that's all. Oh, no, again, I said the conference was great this year. I learned a lot. Very good, very much. Technology. Wonderful thing. At this time, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So made.
And adjourn.
Okay.